Let's hold her to that. Cormac Smith joins me, former strategic communications advisor to Pavlo Klimkin, when he was Ukraine's foreign affairs minister between 2016 and 19. Good afternoon to you.
Sheila, good afternoon, and thank you very much for taking my call.
It's my pleasure. I may cut it short if the press conference starts, but let's start.
I'll be very quick, because there was one point I wanted to make, and I was listening with great interest to your show yesterday with a variety of callers, some more informed than others. A friend of mine, probably my closest Ukrainian friend, and I declare an interest here. This is a country I fell in love with back in 2016 and made lifelong friends there. A friend of mine said to me last week, probably my closest Ukrainian friend, he said, Cormac, you didn't believe me 5 years ago when I told you Putin wanted Ukraine without Ukrainians. And I said, no, but I do now. And I just wanted to make the point, I wonder if after the horrors that from last weekend, which are continuing on with with the bombing of the train station today, and they found the casing of the rocket, by the way. I don't know if you picked this up, in Russian, painted crudely, "For the children," written on it. I wonder if people are actually starting to realise that what the Kremlin and Putin want is they want to obliterate Ukraine, Ukrainian identity, and every single Ukrainian that would resist them from the face of the earth. I've been using the word genocide when friends of mine in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine were saying, well, look, legally we're not using that word yet. I've been saying since before this war started that this would be genocidal. And I really just wanted to make that point.
And a genocide isn't just about numbers, is it? For obvious reasons, we often think of it as numbers, but it's about the intent and what's behind the killing. In the unhinged rants that Putin gave to the Kremlin, I think a couple of days before the invasion started, he made very clear that he did not believe that Ukraine had a right to exist. The day after that, Lavrov, his foreign minister, came out and said this amazing thing. He said, Ukraine does not have a right to sovereignty. I mean, it's just how far down the rabbit hole. And of course, we heard yesterday evening the Peskov, Putin's spokesman, saying, no, these are all fakes. The Ukrainians have done this themselves. Butchered and raped their own people. And of course, they came straight out after the horrendous bombing, where hundreds have both either been injured or killed, and the toll will no doubt go up. And they came straight out and said, no, we didn't do it. The Ukrainians did this themselves. I think maybe at last, we used to say when I was working with Klimkin, Russia lies on an industrial scale. Hopefully the world is starting to realise that. Yeah, but where might that realisation take us?
Well, as Dmytro Kuleba said yesterday, Ukraine needs three things: weapons.
The current foreign minister of Ukraine.
The current foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, who I also worked very closely with when I was in Ukraine. And, it's clear we're not going to put boots on the ground, and that's understandable. I've actually debated against Lord Bennett live on television for a no-fly zone, an argument which I think I lost about 4 or 5 weeks ago. But if we're not going to do that, they've made it very clear this is an existential war for them. I listened to Viktor Yushchenko, the president of the Orange Revolution, who I had the great pleasure to meet and befriend with his wife when I was out there.
Who's been showing real military leadership, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Well, he's a wonderful man. But, I listened to him on CNN last week, and I spoke to his wife, Katya, we messaged just after the interview, and he said, this is chilling, he said this war will only end when either the last Russian soldier is killed or driven off Ukrainian land, or the last Ukrainian dies.
Wow.
And that was absolute. I've sat around the dinner table with this man. He's an absolute gentleman.
Not prone to hyperbole.
Not prone to hyperbole, but somebody the Russians have tried to kill. In fact, his wife said to me, a while ago, this war started in 2004 when they tried to kill my husband. That in their view was the first shot on this war, because he was the first president who wanted to take Ukraine in the westward direction that its people clearly wanted. Excuse me, my dog is starting to bark. And so
I just wonder, Sheila, do people actually get how serious this is?
Do you think that what we're about to see in the east of Ukraine is that all-out thing that despite the horrors that we have seen, we haven't quite yet seen that all-out Russian onslaught yet, have we?
Well, this is what Dmytro Kuleba has said only 24 hours ago. He said, they've talked about the horrors that we've seen being the tip of the iceberg, and I certainly feel that, because I sometimes get reports from Ukrainian friends before they appear on our TV screens here. But, Dmytro has said this is going to be like the Second World War. This is going to be a massive battle. And to have any chance of prevailing in that against a much bigger army, we have got to arm them to the teeth. We've got to give them everything they need, the tanks, the jets, the long-range artillery, the anti-aircraft stuff. Now, I think and it's very, very clear, and Ben Wallace who I'm a huge admirer of, by the way, in terms of Ukraine. Ben Wallace was very, very strong in his press conference in
Romania.
In Romania today, I was going to say Hungary, so thank you. In Romania today, on the when he got off the aircraft, and I mean, my reading is that things are coming together, but it's also very clear that they're not going to be as open in telling us, what they're giving to the Ukrainians.
Can I ask you finally, and briefly, because we're going to go to the headlines and then wait for this press conference to start, but given your role former role as a strategic communications advisor, what have you made of Zelensky's communication during this war, both in interviews, but also the social media and the way that that's been used by the Ukrainians?
I mean, that's easy, Sheila. World class. I'm a professional communicator for the last 30 years, and we say there's three things you need if you're going to really communicate. You need a good strategy or a good plan. You need a good, true story to tell. Well, clearly it's a horrible story, but you need leadership. And his leadership has been central. I mean, I was there as a special communication advisor, and I worked with 4 or 5 other government ministries, as well as the Ministry for Foreign Affairs. And what I've seen from Zelensky is absolutely world class, and the way all of his officials and MPs and almost everybody that speaks on behalf of Ukraine has got in behind that message and amplified what he did. From a professional point of view, I think it's world class.
Okay.
I've never seen better.
Listen, thank you very much indeed for joining us today, Cormac.
Thank you, Sheila, so much.